We're going to be talking about a really exciting conversation, something that is unique, I think. I like a post that Steve, you made just recently. It was called, it said, some call it the new wave of missions. And we're talking about hashtag business as mission today. Before we get ready to start having people call in, we want to hear your thoughts, your ideas. What is business as mission? Is it relevant, especially in cross-cultural scenarios, specifically among the unreached? We are going to introduce ourselves, and then we're going to have a couple people come on and share their expertise. We'll give a little definition of what in the world business as mission, or hashtag BAM, is. Probably the best acronym there is, BAM, on the internet. Would you agree, Steve?
I agree. Sounds like the Flintstones.
Yeah, BAM, BAM. That's what we're talking about today. No, we're talking about business as mission in the Christian sense, talking about unreached people groups. Let me go ahead and introduce myself. My name is David Joannis. I am the founder and president of Within Reach Global. It's a nonprofit Christian organization that is reaching unreached people groups, specifically in China in the 1040 window. I just popped the link up there. You can check it out, withinreachglobal.org. We have 6 outreach centers all throughout China and Myanmar, and we've been reaching unreached peoples for the last 20 years, nearly, in China. So I also, by the way, I blog at davidjoannis.com. I would love to invite you to follow on davidjoannis.com. All missions all the time. Although it is my name.com, it's not all about me. It's all about lifting Jesus up and seeing him glorified among the least reached people groups on the planet. So we're going to be talking about business as mission, a presence of missionary legitimacy, ? And before we go ahead and do that, Steve, my partner in crime, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
So yeah, my name is Steve Shermer, and I'm the president of Silk Road Catalyst. And David and I have been doing these blabs for about a few weeks, I would say. I was about to say a few months, but that's not true. Yeah. And I lead a ministry called Silk Road Catalyst, and this blab tonight is especially exciting for me. Part of it is our mission is about leveraging our skills, talents, and vocations to make disciples among the least reached. So whether it be BAM or tent making, really encompasses all that. Encompasses a little bit more than that, but that's definitely a big part of what I advocate for. And so you see our website here on the side. It is going to be updated soon. We're actually getting a new website soon. I haven't told David that, but we are.
Okay, great. Excellent. Looking forward to that.
But yeah, that's it. Let's get started.
Great. Sounds good. Well, there's a number of people watching. By the way, I'm just going to go through a few things. Many people are probably new to Blab here. On the sidebar, you got your chat. You could chat and say hello, just like this. If you push the slash bar, you could actually ask questions. We're going to be doing that. Steve and I have prepared a number in advance, and you could push /Q and then space, ask your question. It'll pop up on the side, and we'll bring it to the forefront and answer questions and have other people join in, pop in here. I'm excited to see Mr. Kendall Cobb. How you doing, Kendall? In Chiang Mai, Thailand. It looks like it's 9:05 a.m. there. My good friend, longtime friend for the last 20 years, and I really should call you in public my boss, because I do work at Axco Printing in Thailand, and he's in charge of a business as mission company. We're going to have him jump on in a second. Yeah, glad to be here. Good to see you, Kendall. So also, by the way, you can always tweet and share this on Facebook at any time. Tweeting it out is pretty cool, right, Steve? It makes this cool little GIF.
Just make sure we don't look. Yeah, just where's Justin in all this?
Yeah, well, I'm not sure. There's a number of people we're going to ask to join in a second. But before I did, I wanted to kind of give, Steve and I were talking about a little definition of business as missions. I was on the website here, businessasmission.com. In fact, Mr. Mark Plummer is here as well. He's going to be joining us, I think, here in a while as well. He's under the pseudonym of his wife. Looks like Joe Plummer here. But let me just read from the Business as Mission website. This is a definition. It says business as mission is profitable and sustainable businesses, intentional about kingdom and God purpose to impact on people and nations. Number 3, focused on a holistic transformation in the multiple bottom lines of economic, social, environmental, and spiritual outcomes. And the 4th, I really like, concerned about the world's poorest and least evangelized people groups. And we're talking about the 1040 window, the area that stretches across the world from Northwest Africa through the Middle East into the Asias. The poorest of the poor, least evangelized people groups live here. So you have any additional thoughts to add to that, Steve? Or should we start taking callers here in a second?
I think I wanted to just mention further about the definition of BAM, because sometimes, you read the definition off. Can you remind me of the website?
That's
there's a couple of them.
I should have put a link there, and I will right now. It's businessasmission.com without the S, not business as missions. That'll reroute you to pioneers.org, but businessasmission.com. In fact, Mark is going to be coming on soon. He's actually working at BAM there.
Yeah, so included with the whole BAM thing, we're going to, as anybody wants to, we can also talk about tent making, which is in the same realm. When I think of these two, when I think of BAM, I think of and I'll use the word missionary, missionaries that start and run businesses versus a tent maker who works for an employer. So that's how I differentiate the two. So if you hear me talking about these two things, that's exactly how I'm going to be describing it.
Great. By the way, you saw me giving props there. At any point, you can click on our little video feeds there. Give Steve props means you agree with what he's saying, you like his glasses or his epic beard, whatever it means to you. All right, Kendall's giving me props for my beard, I guess. Kendall.
I think you need one. That's the first time I've actually been ahead of you.
Wow, 34-5. I'm getting killed here. So,
I think
Kendall. Kendall, you want to call in? I know you have things to do. I don't want to keep you here the whole time, but I did want to hear your heart and your thoughts about business as mission as you're leading Axco printing in Chiang Mai, Thailand. Looks like he's calling in right now. There he is.
Hey.
Good to see you.
Howdy.
How you doing, boss?
Hey, good to see you guys. Good to meet you, Steve.
Yeah, it's good to meet you. Good morning, I guess, to you.
Yes, it is. Yep, 9:09 a.m. here.
Nice and bright back there.
Yes. Where are you at, Steve?
South Carolina.
All right. Okay.
Right around the corner from home.
Yeah.
Yeah, you just got back to Thailand from the States, right, Kendall? A few days ago only.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, about a week ago. Yeah, was in Georgia for a week. Yeah, got to see
Georgia.
And then up to Idaho to see about a foot of snow.
Great. Wow. Yeah. Now you're in what? 85, 90 degree weather there in Thailand?
Actually not. It's pretty cold here. We have all of our staff are bundled up. They got the hats on.
Cold for Southeast Asia.
55. Maybe 58.
Okay. All right. I think in Celsius anymore. I can barely understand what in the world 55 means until you say it in Celsius, I think.
Okay.
12. Yep. Oh, yeah, that's cold. Well, Kendall and I met in 1995. I was on a short-term mission trip with Teen Mania Ministries. He was living in Hong Kong at that time. His family was running a ministry called Bible Way Ministries in Hong Kong, having a number of different teams from all over the world come to Hong Kong, smuggle Bibles into China. And Kendall, why don't you give me a little background on yourself and then share about where you're actually sitting and what you do?
Well, ever since we met you, Dave, life has never been the same.
Oh, wow. In a good way, I hope?
Oh, positively. Oh, yes.
Okay. I'll give you props for that.
You've been a tremendous blessing to the Cobb family. No doubt about it. You've been there for us in so many different ways. And so,
thank you. But, and you for me.
When we first met you back in 95, the Bible Courier Ministry was about getting literature into the underground churches of China. And that went very well for 9 years. And teams such as yourself came over and carried quite quite a lot of stuff in.
When you say quite a lot, by the way, sorry to pause you there. What are we talking quite a lot? Hundreds, thousands, tens of thousands pieces of literature into China?
How many? 300 to 400 tons.
Okay, there you have it, folks.
Is that a lot?
It was heavy. I remember it being heavy. Yes.
It was heavy. Yeah. But, the printed word is what changes the world. That's it's one of the tools that helps change the world, so printed word is very, very important in our world. And so we feel that the best thing we can do in our ministry and work and business is to provide printed literature in every form that you can imagine, obviously with the gospel message on it. So after 9 years in Hong Kong and then now Thailand for 17 years, we were printing inside China and really had a successful time. We did about 15 million books inside, which supplied to the house churches there. And again, the printed literature, is paramount to reaching the world with the gospel of Jesus Christ. So we continued on here in Thailand 17 years ago, opened up a print shop. We didn't know it was a business as missions at that time. That term wasn't even around at that time. It was just like, we know what we got to do. We started out as a ministry. The government of Thailand says, no, I want your taxes, your selling stuff. I need Social Security for your employees. And so then we registered the company. And then probably about 5 years into our operation, we found out we were a business as missions.
Okay. Surprise, surprise.
Yes, right. So we've been very blessed with a lot of people coming through our doors and networking. Our success has been because of the clients that we serve. 98% of who we serve are mission and Christian organizations. And
okay, so what you're saying, serve by what means?
Serving them through printing literature for them.
Okay.
One particular organization, a large Baptist organization, wanted to print specifically literature about Buddhism, but they couldn't print it elsewhere for fear or didn't want to cause a problem with the Buddhist printers. And so we were able to step into that because that's our heart, is to print literature such as that. And so we were able to print for them, and we continue to print for them, and also facilitate movement of literature both into China and to Myanmar and Vietnam, Laos. Yes. So it's really been one of those amazing trips along the way that we never expected to be where we are today. Just knowing that God called us to facilitate, get literature. So we print for missionaries, we print for organizations that actually pay us to print their literature, and then we get to give it away free of charge.
Awesome. Yeah, I've been part of that a number of times at Axco Bookhouse. In fact, I was just writing the newsletter. I'm the social media and marketing manager at Axco, and we have a Axco Bookhouse. What is there, Kendall? 50 to 75,000 free Christian literature, books, Bibles, tracts.
Well, we have 4 40-foot containers full of literature.
Wow.
Moving all the time. And we have a new 20-foot container in port as we speak right now, and it will be arriving here up in Chiang Mai in about the next 2 days. And it's jam-packed full of literature from Love Packages out of Butler, Illinois. And then they give us free Bibles, brand new books, Sunday school materials, reference materials, tracts of all kinds for us to give away.
Awesome.
And then
free.
Because of our business platform, it allows us to import that stuff. And we have such a good relationship at the customs in Bangkok that they allow us to bring that stuff in duty free. Every single container that we
are you serious?
I
didn't even realize that.
Yeah. So it's just, it defies normal policy. It shouldn't be that way.
Yeah.
But when we believe, because of the Lord's blessing upon it, it has allowed us to bring the stuff in because they know we're giving it away free of charge. Yeah. So
for you've seen a business as mission platform in an unreached or unengaged area. Thailand's 97% Buddhist, 0.8% 8% Christian, maybe. And so would you say, here, I just put this up, can BAM or business mission companies actually have direct impact on unreached people groups through discipleship and evangelism? Would you say?
Of course.
Of course.
Of course. Yeah.
Simple answer.
Yeah. What do you think, Steve?
Yeah, I was telling David, I love bullet point answers. Simple, concise, to the point. Let's move on.
All right, that question's answered.
So, no, I mean, if someone disagrees, I'd love to hear their view, but I agree. I love it. I even love the fact that you were talking about that you were doing BAM before BAM was even a word.
Right. It's Mark Plummer. I hope he comes on.
Yeah, he's here.
He's been a tremendous supporter for Axco for many, many years. And he really has helped me to understand, obviously, what BAM is about and the purposes of it. And he was the one who helped me realize that we were in BAM.
Gave you the terminology, at least, to express. I think that's the whole thing that we're talking about here, right? There is Christian businessmen, businesswomen who want to use their skills and giftings in business to impact kingdom work. And, when you're intentional about that, you realize, wow, all business that is ran or led or hosted by a Christian is actually having impact upon a certain zip code, upon a certain people group, in our case, cross-culturally.
Yeah. Yeah. Amen to that. Certainly I love doing business as mission. I think it is, obviously it's not for everybody, but it is a platform that allows you to get into places that missionaries normally cannot get into. It's a SOP, standard operation procedure. You meet people you would not normally meet along the way. And it allows us to also get into, obviously, the unsaved world in the business world. The world, the business world that has not been reached with the gospel of Jesus Christ. And so and when you have, we talked about the Axco Book House. It just amazes me, Dave, that Axco has been able to do what we do and now is supporting that Axco Book House as a total outreach. But yet Axco is still profitable. And I think that is the key, to businesses' missions. We need to give to our community too. We need to give back. It's not just about taking, it's about giving, And one thing that we have found to be very blessed with, and you can take it however you want, but we have been printing the immigration forms for here in Chiang Mai for many, many years. We give it to them free of charge. It's just black ink on white paper. It's not expensive, but yet it means so much to immigration. And obviously, when it comes time for visa renewal, there's no problem. but that is a way to give to the community, and a lot of people do it through either the slum work, there's different avenues that you can do that, but immigration is one place that we have a good relationship, and we want to bless them and show the kingdom of God at hand. So,
Steve, you had this question right here, I see.
Yeah, so you see the question on there with the change of just everything that's going on. I mean, we see changes in China. Those of us who've lived there, we saw them every, 24 hours? And
skyscraper over the night.
Yeah. And just, some of the negative attitude towards missionaries, things like that. There's some people, I'm not going to name names of anyone I know, but I do know some people who think that if you're not doing BAM, you need to be sent out to pasture. So to speak. Well, maybe didn't go that far, but there's obviously just some people who think BAM is not just the third wave or whatever they want to call it. It's the wave, and everyone else needs to get on board. So is it a better cross-cultural method? Or what do you think about that?
I think it's one of them. It's not the best. I mean, we have to look at this from various avenues. BAM is just one of the many ways that we can do it. It reaches, like I said before, it reaches an area of people group that we would not normally be able to reach, Um,
The boss is getting a call right now. See, he's making money.
Sorry,
Craig,
it's that immigration people.
Yeah.
We need more forms.
Craig is asking a great question too. Following up, Kendall, I think on what you just said, is profitability still a priority for BAM companies, or are these companies sometimes subsidized? Craig, by the way, if you want to call in, feel free. Did you get that question there, Kendall?
Oh, sorry. I'm sorry, I didn't.
Is that Craig was saying, is profitability still a priority for businesses, mission companies, or are these companies sometimes subsidized?
Without a doubt, in my opinion, profitability is important. It has to be. Profitability has to be. I wouldn't say paramount, but it's part of what BAM does. If you are more profitable, obviously, the more that you can be a blessing in other ways. You can support other ministry.
Yeah.
You know, if you are in it just for a platform, you know, you're going to be looked at by the outside world. For example, immigration. You know, we just came to the end of the year, and our books have to show profit in order for our visas to remain consistent in this country.
Which means that I do or do not get a visa depending on Axco's profitability.
Right. So we have to be profitable, you know, on the secular side, on the business side, so that the Thai government can feel good about us staying here and helping their country, you know, by employing people, giving them jobs, giving them a livelihood. Yeah. And if we're not profitable, the government will look at it and say, okay, last year you weren't profitable. The year before that, you were not profitable. But by the third year, they're going to start really asking questions, and they're going to think, hey, something's not right here, guys. What are you here for? What is your purpose? Why are you losing money? You know, so I think Craig's question is a good question. It is, at least it is a priority for me, so that I can spend more money on mission work.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, I want to add something to that, because I think, you know, there's definitely some ventures out there where profitability is not a top priority.
Yes,
for
I've seen them.
The missionary. I met a guy about 2 years ago, or really about a year and a half ago, who is a missionary somewhere in Southeast Asia. I won't give too many details on this, but he was working among this unreached people group. And so they started an English school, which is pretty common. Mm-hmm. And they went along for 2 years. And after about 2 years, the elders of the religious group came up to him and started questioning him because they figured out how much he was bringing in as far as income, charging for tuition, what it cost to run the program, to pay the minimal staff that he had. And he had about this much profit in the end. And then they asked him about this much lifestyle that he had.
Discrepancy.
And so in their minds, and this is very similar to what you're talking about with the government and taxes and things like that. But this wasn't even the government. This was just local people. And they started challenging the missionary. And he admitted that he lost all credibility really in one conversation after spending over 2 years gaining their trust. Now, I would say God did give him grace, and that really challenged him, because when he went back and started looking at the environment that he was in, the agricultural, his dynamics there, his background as a farming kid, his wife's degree in, I think, chemical engineering, they brought all together and developed a new business. It did ultimately get his favor back with the community, but it took a while. And he had to work toward profitability in addition to just also being a good church planner.
My question about that, Steve, would have been, how much of that money did he actually put back into that community? I mean, so you're talking life.
The second time around, the first time around, probably nothing.
Okay.
There wasn't anything. He was just breaking even. So all of his support was coming from the States.
I see. Okay.
And the second time around, he was hiring people, paying premium wages or premium, I don't know what you'd call it, their product. And so at that point, it did start going back into the community on a practical scale.
There you go. Good. Yeah. Anytime you can give back to the community, and you'll win favor. Obviously, seems like a simple point, but it's very important.
These are great thoughts. Let me just pause and ask here, Kendall, do you need to take off? If so, we can let you go, but I definitely did want to hear a little background and your heart on business as mission.
No, I'm here.
Okay, great.
Mark coming on later? Mark?
Yeah, I was hoping, Mark, if you are here, I would love, this would be a great segue for you to share your expertise. He's actually signed in under Joe Plummer's account, his wife. That's why you probably don't see his name. You could, by the way, so you can hover over anyone's profile above. It'll tell you a little bit about them, see who you like to follow on Blab. Definitely follow Steve Shermer and I. We host these regular missions blabs. In fact, we have 2 more scheduled in the next few days here. A couple of them. One is how to be a Christian advocate for unreached people groups. I'll put the link up there right now. And the next one is indigenous or foreign missionaries. Who is more effective? I think they're pretty cool titles and topics. And so I'm excited about those. But also, if you would like to share this out with your friends, followers, whoever, that would be really awesome. We would love for you to get the word out. Why? Again, Steve and I want to be an advocate for unreached people groups. And there is the man, the myth, the legend himself.
Oh, yes. Hey. All right.
So, Mark, where are you at right now? It looks like your name is Joe, but I'll call you Mark.
We can't hear you.
Oh, yeah. No, you can't. We can't hear you there. Maybe if you're on Chrome or if you're on Firefox, you perhaps didn't give permission to your microphone. Yeah. Nice faces, but we can't hear you. So what I would do is just go refresh the page, call right back in, and then give access to your mic and camera. Camera's fine. Craig also says, Kendall, do you have the backing of a sending agency? Why or why not?
Hey, another good question.
Yeah, Craig's a genius here.
Actually, I do have the backing of a sending agency. It's a small one, and it's been around since 1967. And it has been the spiritual support as well as financial support. Mark, when Mark Plummer brought on teams from BAM, they would come over to Axco and they would show Axco as an example of BAM. The question was always asked, do you receive a salary at Axco? And I've always answered that question with negative. It's a choice that I made early on that, I still want to live by faith. And even though the print shop probably could give me something, but it was always about putting that money back into the company and still allowing me to have the 501c3 status that I have in the States. And but also to still have that prayer support, the financial support, just interaction with people, because it's easy to, if you go into business mode, then you'll be all about running the business. And it's not that just business. To me, it's about connection with our supporters. And we were actually heavily supported for the many years that we've been in Asia for the past 25, 30 years. And so, yes, I think the backing is important for continuity and for support and for overseeing your operations.
Yeah. Maybe unplug your microphone or maybe it'll just suddenly pop on. I don't know. Nope. What browser are you on, by the way? Just type it in. Are you on Firefox, Chrome? Well, I'm not sure. Maybe switch over to Firefox, perhaps. That might help. I'm not sure. Yeah, we didn't do a test beforehand. These BAM, I'm sorry, Blab is still in beta, so there are some glitches. I had problems with Chrome. You might want to jump on Firefox. If you're on a browser, by the way, I see there's 3 people watching from a browser. You can't engage with us by asking questions, by chatting, by giving Kendall props like this. He's killing it, 159, 63 to 14. Chrome is working great for me, said Craig. Yeah, mine had issues. I'm on Opera now, so anyway. As Mark calls back in, by the way, if at any time any of you want to call in with similar thoughts, ideas along these lines, feel free. Mark will probably try to call back in a second here. One of us can hop off for him, but definitely don't be shy. We'll give you some heavy duty props here. I don't know if you're going to reach Kendall's status.
All right. But once Mark gets back on, he'll probably supersede me very, very quickly.
You know, Craig, I'm going to agree with Kendall, because I think just from my perspective and the people I interact with and I've met over the last couple of years, I've met people with sent out by agencies. I've met BAM practitioners sent out by churches, and then not really any that have gone out independently yet. I think I've met some who have thought about it, but it seems there needs to be that spiritual accountability element to it, a focus on the mission of why we're there. Yeah. If I think you do run a much higher risk if you go out as a business person just in a business format. It's not to say that they can't be on track with the mission part of it, but I think without some accountability there, or some structure that's not in place, whether it be an agency or a church, it could be a church, then you do run a risk of just getting trapped in the business mindset.
And so I see one. Go ahead. Sorry.
Go ahead.
Well, you just reminded me of a point, a case in point here. We are in the market for a new, not a new, but a used 4-color press, something we've needed for 15 years, and they're just priced, terribly high. I mean, $200,000 easy for a secondhand press. We had a Christian foundation donate the first $100,000 for the 2 presses that we have. So the question came up. Okay, so here's a business, a Christian foundation in America that wants to donate $200,000 to buy a 4-color press for us. How do we handle that as a 501c3 and as a for-profit company? These are challenges that I know every for-profit operation has, because you want to stay in line and legal, at least with the USA system, as far as the taxes and so forth. So my board that I have a great board, experienced board. They've been in China, they've been in Asia, and they were able to work it out that I was able to receive that money through the 501c3, give them the deduction that they need, but then Bible Way would then second that funds to Axco, lease it to Axco to use it as equipment for the for-profit operation, and it's all legal. But here's where a board is so important to be able to help you, walk you through those kind of things, and they also sought legal counsel as to what the best way to do it is.
Those are precarious situations that we're talking about. A business as mission company. Cross-culturally, first of all, cross-culturally, anything is difficult. You have to get visas. You're dealing with language, culture issues. In Thailand, Buddhist population dominates. And so these are things that are very precarious for a business as mission organization that wants to have an impact on culture, on people, and make a difference in their lives, specifically the least reach. So the lesson is get smart people on your board. I agree. That is a key. Within Reach Global, the organization I'm overseeing, my goodness, I'm so happy they do not let me spend a dime. They don't let me do anything. And I'm so happy about that, because it's that accountability of integrity, of financial stewardship, so important, specifically in a BAM organization or business. Yeah, somebody was talking about fake businesses a while ago. Someone said, I think it was Ben, said, define a fake business. Okay, we're going to step back a little bit here, okay, because I have never actually, before working at Axco, where Kendall is right now in Thailand, been part of a business as mission organization. In fact, I was in China for 17 years. We didn't have a fake business. It was a legitimate business in Malaysia, but we had a rep office that could exist and provide visas for missionaries in our case from Thailand. I was actually the vice president of Malaysia Maztecs at the time, a very prestigious title I had. However, we were doing very little to no work as business. It was not profitable. Legally, we could do our papers every year, provide visas. In a way, you could say that type of thing, I think, is what Steve and maybe Kendall were talking about, a fake business. It's a platform. It's a facade to provide a visa for a missionary to maintain presence in a cross-cultural country, but it's not necessarily directly impacting people groups, except that our missionary team would travel out to these rural areas every week and evangelize, disciple. We've seen church planting, hundreds of church plants come through our team over the many years, but that could be described as what I think Ben was asking for, a definition of a fake business. And I feel bad for saying that.
I would add that in addition to what David just said, that their goal is not to make a profit. I mean, just on a practical side, I mean, if you're in business, your goal is to make profit, whether it's to help people in need or pad your own pockets, either way, you're in it to make profits. And, there's some, like what David just described. I keep thinking of a team in the city I lived in China that started you could say they legally started a business, but they had no intention of making any money. And the church that was sponsoring them from the States ended up shelling out about $3,000 a month just to keep everything afloat. The result was, after 3 years, the church had to pull either 4 or 5 families off the field because they couldn't keep up supporting the missionaries plus supporting a business simultaneously. So they didn't send anyone with any kind of business knowledge or experience. They sent a bunch of great people who knew how to do ministry very effectively. But the finances caught up with them because they just created it, as David said, simply for a visa. You could get coffee at it, but I could do that by getting Nescafe at that Riverman La or something.
So Steve, so what you're saying is that, obviously, are you saying that you feel that these kind of businesses, missions, then need to be profitable?
I think you need to work toward it. Definitely. I think that's got to be one of the practical goals in it. And, that's hard sometimes for missionaries. And I understand the battle. I mean, the network I work within, they've got some pretty cool businesses going on. They're not all profitable yet. And the one guy that kind of leads most of it kind of gives it up to 10 years before they can even get profitable, just in the environment they're in personally. I think, if it's all, I don't know, debatable, you could say, in the end.
But you're saying, though, as long as it's a goal for them to be profitable, and not just a platform.
Yeah, I would argue that it has to be legitimate.
Yeah.
And not just something you're using just to work around the system.
Yeah, visa, yeah. How about, Mark, you get back on and you type as you talk?
Yeah, we'll we're going to keep going. By the way, if you want to call in with similar thoughts, we would love the engagement. Mark's trying to, I'm not good at that, trying to get on, having technical difficulties. But I had this question. Again, we're talking about, traditional missionaries. Let's talk about, in the sense, first of all, definitions are hard. Is Mike still here? Mike, was on a while ago. It looks like he's gone. But we're talking about definitions. First of all, I think just because you're a Christian doesn't mean you're a missionary in the extra biblical sense of the word there. That is called cross-culturally, across geographical boundaries, across cultures, ethnic people groups, linguistically. I think that is a more proper term of the word missionary. So with that definition in hand, traditional missionaries, I think, have taken the route that they're not doing business. Okay. They're not coming to teach English. They're not coming to start a business. They're coming to maybe be a student, learn the language, and then start discipling, evangelizing people. So I guess the question is this: can traditional missionaries effectively work hand in hand with BAM, or business as mission and tent making missionaries?
I'm curious to hear what Steve thinks.
I think I'm the one who wrote the question.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, David. I took your glory away.
I was just copying and pasting your questions here, taking credit for them. So
you actually wrote most of them. No, I really wanted to know what other people. I think it's possible. I'm not. I mean, our ministry leans more toward the tent making and BAM side of things. But in the network, that one of our key networks that we have, we do have a mixture of traditional and tent making and BAM practitioners all working together. And there's one guy I was trying to get on to join us today who's been involved in all this for over 20 years in Asia. And, he believes there's people, and I'm sure, I would guess we all agree on this, but there are definitely missionaries who just don't need to be in business.
Yes, I agree.
And
that struck a key with Kendall there.
So I do believe they can work hand in hand. I think they should work hand in hand somehow. I think it's definitely going to look different in every mission field. But I am curious what other people think on that, because I know there's people who would disagree with me.
Looks like Candace has joined us.
There she is. Hey, Candace.
Welcome.
Oh, no,
we can't hear you.
I'm not sure why we don't have you muted. So if you're going to call in, we suggest Chrome, maybe Firefox. If you're having an issue and you're on an Apple computer, I would go to the Apple button there, to System Preferences, to Sound, and then check your input devices. If you recently plugged or unplugged a earphones with a microphone, that might have mixed it up, and you could correct it on that there. But if you just can't do it, refresh, sign back in, call back in. We'd love to hear you. Yeah.
Yes, definitely. Yes, for sure.
All right, Mark is calling back in. It's confusing. Let's see. Hopefully get these glitches taken care of. I know. But I enjoy this candid conversation. This isn't necessarily a professional broadcast here. We're just picking each other's minds to see what is most profitable for the gospel of Jesus to be broadcasted to the least reached people groups in the 1040 window through what means, be that by business, be that by traditional missionary routes. And so I like the candid conversation we're having here. Okay. I was watching from a browser. Yeah, I wanted to suggest, Mark, try unplugging his headphones if it sound. He did that actually, but it still wasn't coming through for some reason. But that is a good suggestion. I would have said the same thing. Yeah, he's trying to call in again right now, but struggling. I think to answer that question, can traditional and BAM missionaries work together? I think yes. I mean, Kendall, I've been what I think most would consider a traditional missionary, although I really shy away from the word missionary. It has so many loaded connotations, doesn't it? But we've been working hand in hand with InReach Global, Axco, Bible Way, and I think making a great impact on culture, in my opinion, humble opinion.
Well, I'd like to give you an example.
Okay, there you go.
A good marriage has happened between us and actually quite a number of missionaries.
Okay.
Obviously, the missionaries, we have a niche market because literally we're the only printer in Chiang Mai that is missions focused.
Okay.
And we have a full service print shop. We have all the huge machinery. We've got Heidelberg presses. We've got Stahl folders from Germany. I mean, it's top notch quality materials, machinery that we have. A case in point here would be YWAM, as we all know, is a large mission organization, and they often need and are using Christian literature for their outreaches. A local gentleman here from South Africa has come to us and said, "Hey, I see you have a nice, big, huge, thick comic book that depicts the gospel of Jesus Christ in picture form. It's Good and Evil by a ministry called No Greater Joy." And so they saw his book and said, "Hey, man, we want to get this printed. How can we get the right to print this? Because this is a perfect tool for our outreach." And so we contacted the guy who owned it, who owns the rights to it, and said, "Hey, here is a missionary who would love to print this. Can he print it?" And he said, "Sure, I'd be happy for him to print it, and then we'll print an additional amount alongside of him." So the local missionary needed 6,000 copies. The guy who owned it needed 5,000 copies. So we printed 11,000 copies. Hey, it's Mark.
Oh, my goodness.
Yes.
Before you come on there, Mark, yeah, go ahead, Kendall. I wanted to hear the rest of that story.
Yeah, so we're in the process of printing these 11,000, and they previously printed 5,000, and their outreach with this tool was just absolutely high percentage of people accepting Jesus Christ as their
awesome
Savior. And so this is the kind of thing. If business as missions can help facilitate other mission work, I mean, that to me, that's the bottom line. That's the key, to a true business as mission operation. Yeah. So, all right, Mark's on. Go for it, Mark. I'm glad you have it.
Good to see you here, buddy. I'm glad we got rid of those technical
Crazy. Well, we got internet cutting in and out too, so.
Okay, yeah, sure. We'll blame that.
No, we genuinely have that too.
So, Mark, tell us a little bit about yourself, because we keep putting these links up, businessasmission.com, and you are right there at headquarters, it sounds like.
Right.
Well, of the Business as Mission Resource Team, yes.
Okay.
So right now I'm in the Business as Mission Resource Team office in Chiang Mai. And it's my wife that does all the businessasmission.com resources and stuff like that. And I am using her Twitter account because I don't have one.
Okay. I follow her, by the way.
You follow her, good,
yeah.
Good. So we've been working for the last 15 years to serve the Business as Mission movement, or people that are doing business as mission, through the website, through training, through consulting services, and we have different ways in which we provide on-ramps for people. We have a 3-day course in the US, a 3-day conference in the US every September. We have a 3-week course here in Chiang Mai that's really intensive. It's giving everybody as much information as they need for where they're at in the process. So it could be business coaching, could be that they're working through their worldview around business and work and money and profit, taking a salary. And we try to provide as many resources as we can get together on the website. And we have a blog. My wife publishes a blog every 2 weeks.
Okay. I was just on there reading a bunch
different
of
topics and
stories.
Stories, case studies, that kind of thing. So we do a little bit here. Yeah.
Yeah, I was just on that blog checking out a number of, if you're talking about or looking for practical stories, that is a great place to be. What is it? businessasmission.com/blog, if I'm not mistaken. Although the link I just put up there was the resource link. Can you hear us there, Mark?
You're breaking up.
Oh, okay.
You're breaking up. You're breaking up quite a bit. But businessasmission.com/blog, yes, is where the blog is. Yeah.
Cool. Can you guys, is everybody hearing everyone okay, or is it just Mark's internet perhaps?
Yes. I'm here.
Okay.
Did you see Craig's question?
Yeah, I looks like Craig is the question master. If there was an award, I think he would get it at this point. I would love for Craig to call in, but it'll take some coaxing. It sounds like. But he said, what about the importance of how the BAMR is perceived by those in the host country's business community? Is there trust, tolerance, suspicion? Oops, Mark's gone.
Kendall, you go first.
Oh man! Well, I was hoping that Mark would answer. That's a good question for him.
Yeah.
You know, ironically, our print shop is in a neighborhood that has 2 mosques, and there's about 20 households here that are Muslim, and about 100 households that are Buddhist, that are Thai Buddhist, and then we're the Christian presence, so to speak. I mean, the community knows that we're Christian, no question about it. And so, is there trust, tolerance, or suspicion? I'm sure, because they're human-natured personalities, there's always going to be some form of that trust, tolerance, or suspicion. Directly across the street from us is what we call a Thai-style 7-Eleven, and it's a man and wife team, and we love them to death, and they just take care of us. We've shared the gospel with them many times, but they've never accepted Jesus Christ as their personal Savior. We trust them when we're gone on holiday, when the shop is closed, like over Christmas and New Year's, we're closed for 2 weeks. They collect our mail for us, and then they give it back to us when we get back here. If there's anything bad goes wrong in front of the shop, they let us know. And if there's something's wrong, like we had a busted water main one time that we didn't know about, well, they immediately called one of my Thai staff, and then my Thai staff called me, and then we were able to fix the problem before it became a huge problem. So yeah, there is trust. And now last week, across the street is a new bar that just opened. I mean, I could throw a rock and hit it, And then right next to them is a Muslim market that sells food and vegetables and stuff. And all my staff go over there and buy from them every day, And so we're well ensconced into the community here. Yeah. Yes, there's trust, but yes, there's the Muslim fact. They know we're Christians. We know they're Muslim. So there is that that degree. But there's nothing ever manifested itself at any anger towards us. Certainly, we never do that towards them. And so I think it is important to be part of the community and be accepted and working with them and making friends and talking to them. Yeah, it's extremely important. Why do we exist? Yeah. If we can't do that, then why are we around? So
yeah, exactly.
A new guy on here, great.
Yeah. Can you hear me all right?
Greg?
I had to find a place to hide in the basement,
Okay. So, the man cave.
Right. Well, my orientation is not 1040 window or closed access countries. We have
Wow, internet troubles are hitting our crowd heavy tonight. It looks like we lost Craig again. Just past Haiti. We can't hear you, Craig. How are we supposed to give him his award?
Sorry.
Okay, well, Mark is trying to get on as best as he can, and he's just sent this link. Anyone interested in our training, look at bamtraining.org. That's the training arm of businessasmission.com, or there's this email, marketbusinessasmission.com. I think those are great resources. I've been on there, bamtraining.org. Great resources for people in the business world who want to do intentional business as mission. Kendall, I like what you were actually talking about there. So when you're away, they take care of the shop. They don't have a shared faith. They don't have a shared religion, but you guys have this long-lasting relationship that has impacted life. And while you are there, I know how they take care of you, because I always walk across the street and end up buying you one of those little ice creams. What is that? I can't remember what it's called.
Magnum?
Magnum ice cream. I know what flavor you like, and that's how they've been taking care of Kendall
You
for
can get those
many,
here in the
many
States
years.
now.
Was that
Welcome, Ben.
Says you can get them in the States now.
Yeah, aren't they great? Steve, where are you at right now? Where are you located?
I'm now based in South Carolina.
Oh, so you're actually in South Carolina
Yeah, I'm
now.
there. I'm here right now.
Okay. All right.
Hence the reason internet's working.
Yeah. I'm a Texan boy, so I'm originally from the state of Texas.
Very subtle there. Very subtle. By the way, yeah, and Steve, you lived in China for many, many years.
Yeah, I did live there for a while, and we lived right smack in the middle of it. And yeah, I miss it. I do.
What do you miss most? The stinky tofu?
There's some things I can go without, but yeah.
Okay. That being one of them?
You're still visiting the local Chinese restaurants? Practicing your Chinese?
Here in South Carolina? Oh,
yes.
My gosh. That's not even right there.
Panda Express?
That's a step up. Never mind.
The Chinese restaurants you go to have the best burritos in town?
They have the best fortune cookies in town. But
Okay.
It's not even Chinese.
Well, just to kind of pause and reset here, I always like to do this in the middle because people come and go, and it looks like a van just joined us. Welcome. And Mark is viewing. It looks like probably still trying to get on at some point. But we're talking about business as mission, a presence of missionary legitimacy, ? I think the reason we put the question mark, right, Steve, is because we did have questions that we wanted to kind of talk through and talk about. Are those business as mission practices better than opposed to the traditional missionary? Are there missionary routes that certain cross-cultural workers should consider? Well, looks like we lost Mario. He's trying to call in there. But yeah, so if you want to share this, tweet it out, share it on Facebook, follow me and Steve. We actually do these regularly missions blabs conversations about all things missions. We've had some really great conversations with Buddhists, former Buddhist monks, atheists, Christians, obviously, cross-cultural missionaries. It's been really unique conversations. Would you agree?
Yeah, I mean, David was offered money by an atheist if he would just correct me every time.
That's right. I got to get back with lively debate. Maybe I should call him in here right now. He said every time I slap Steve down or correct him for some incorrect statement or whatever, he'll give me $5 to Within Reach Global, our organization. Oh. So it's taken Steve's and I relationship to a whole new level. But I have not seen that from lively debate at any time.
Well, we'll have to remind him for sure.
Yeah. I'm back. Call in whenever you want, Craig. Love to have you. There he goes. Cool. So I think Craig just finished with saying he wasn't living in the 1040 window, but in Haiti, and that's where we lost you.
Yeah. Haiti's had no shortage of missionaries over the years. Okay. And so one of the things, in fact, my wife and I, when we went down in 1990, she was fourth generation going to the field, and she'd grown up there. And so one of the things we've talked about a lot is alternative, ways of serving in that country, not as missionary supported from outside, but actually coming in and doing a viable business that can then gain credibility and be profitable, provide jobs, teach life lessons, break dependency, those kinds of things. So I kind of have that orientation. You guys are all in, creative access and those being types of things. So, and so we may not be actually looking at it from the same perspective or pursuing the same kinds of goals. But I think about, the idea of having something that's sustainable, and it actually looks more like real life, and then you live kingdom principles in the midst of that, and you're treating your employees with you know, I mean, you're operating your business according to the way, you know, God teaches, you know, and scriptures and scriptural principles. So, but then there's, I guess, you also want to have some sort of legitimacy from a kingdom perspective as far as making headway. Not just, I hope they see, I hope they see Jesus, but that there's actually deliberate, you know, church planning, discipleship ministry going on along with it. But I guess, are thinking that in some places when like trust, suspicion, those kinds of things, you know, either people are, maybe I'm thinking that people look at the missionaries in another context with those kinds of things, and it's only the business people that would have legitimacy, you know, because they're actually doing something that's productive or that's contributing to the community. And so I'm just rambling here. I need some help.
Yeah,
I was going to say, I think trust is there an echo somewhere? Or is that just me?
I'm hearing it.
Suddenly,
It was Kendall agreeing with everything you said.
See if that works.
that's better.
Okay. You know, I think Kendall mentioned the whole trust thing. I think anywhere you go, there's going to be a trust issue just because we're the foreign guy or foreign woman, if, you know, foreign person walking in. There's going to be a period of trust building no matter what we do or how we approach it. You know, how long it takes to get there, I think it's going to be different in every field. But, you know, the BAM principles, I know I do promote it in the perspective of creative access countries or the 1040 window, but I was speaking at a church last summer in Florida, and I noticed this guy in the audience, and then afterwards I had one of those, I guess you call them dinner on the grounds or something afterwards. So we went to the fellowship hall, and he came up and sat next to me and started talking. And he said that as I was sharing about what we do, even though I'm focusing on the 1040 window, his brain started going into Haiti, of all places. And he told me what he did for a living, that he repairs small engine motors, like on lawnmowers. He even takes riding lawnmowers and turns them into racing lawnmowers. I didn't even know that was a sport. But he has a friend in Haiti that was telling him that there's a big need for someone to come down there and start a business to teach Haitians how to repair small motors, and they didn't have anyone that could do that.
Yeah.
So, you know, while I'm always trying to push people a certain way, so to speak, I do think the principles are universal, and they can be applied into a place like Haiti. And I think a BAM project or a BAM business can be very effective in a place like that. And I think, considering the environment of Haiti, I've never been there, but I have friends that work there as well, that go in and out, and just the things I hear from them, I would argue that BAM might be the most needed thing among mission groups there, just because of all the handouts they're getting from the government, like the U.S. government and things like that even my missionary friends are arguing against, that they claim is hurting them. So something like that, depending on what the business is, that could be very beneficial to them spiritually and practically.
Yeah, I agree with you, definitely.
And Haiti is a very unique beast, isn't it? I mean, we, like you said, there's a huge population of missionary presence. There are books specifically dedicated to it. When Helping Hurts is a popular one. And I agree, Steve. There could be some real validity in BAM initiatives on those fronts.
But it takes a certain amount of expertise, and it takes, you know, a different kind of thinking compared to the typical short-term mission team that wants to go down and make a splash. And you know, when we went down in November, I looked around at the gate to everybody who was getting to get on the plane from Miami to Cape Haitian, and it was 50-50 in terms of Haitians and Americans, white Americans. Wow. You know, I told the team that was with me, I said, look around, look at the demographic here. Yeah. And it's just, because you got all kinds of teams going in, and the typical model is, we're going to go build a school, we're going to go, deliver clothes and toys and that kind of thing. And we're going to send a trip here every year, from our church. And wouldn't it be much better, more sustainable, more, I don't know, more long lasting and spreading just a better financial long-term impact, I think, to teach people business principles, to model business principles, and really make that kind of an impact and help people towards self-sufficiency.
Yeah, Kendall, looks like you have something to add to that.
Craig, is there good infrastructure in Haiti for that kind of a thing? I'm not thinking there is, but
cell phones were a wonderful innovation in Haiti because the telephone company just you couldn't really rely on it. I couldn't believe the difference between 1993 and 2010 as far as the proliferation of cell phones, and just how much better you could get stuff done because you could actually call somebody and get through. Electricity is a constant problem, so solar is becoming more and more available. You can actually buy solar panels and batteries in the country, from what I understand now. So that helps infrastructure. Roads are still, there's still problems with roads. So transportation is always an issue. And so, there are some major infrastructure challenges that you face there. So, and that could be a good reason why you don't see more BAM initiatives going on. But you do see, of course, an emerging, I think we're starting to hear stirrings of people who are wanting to go back into Haiti. They left a long time ago. They settled in Miami or somewhere else in Florida, and now they're seeing, hey, things are calming down. Maybe I can go back in and, build a house and start a business and, be back in my homeland again. And we're seeing tourism is, I think, starting to pick up again as well. So it could be that things turn the corner. It's going to be a more favorable environment for these kinds of things to take place. We're going to, Lord willing, going to continue to make brief trips in the next few years. And so we'll see. We'll just kind of monitor how it goes.
So, Craig, on that note, tell us a little bit about yourself, organization you're working for.
Okay. I'm part of Liberty University.
I'm sorry?
Liberty University
here
in Lynchburg, Virginia. I work in the Center for Global Engagement.
Okay, great.
And before that, in the early 90s, we were with a major mission organization that's all around the world. And we were in Haiti for about 3 years as full-time. We thought we were career missionaries, but we were in our 20s, with little kids and lots of idealism. And it was very challenging in a lot of ways. It was also 1991 when the coup hit that ousted Aristide, and we were in the country at that time. And so the security environment was such that it wasn't friendly to a whole lot of things, but as we're going back in now, it's with short-term trips, taking Liberty students in. And so we kind of get a view, we can reconnect with what we knew back then, but also kind of have an eye on, what's stirring, what's going on, who's doing what, that type of thing.
Great. Steve, you're awesome. You just put that link up there, liberty.edu. If you want to learn more about probably what Craig is doing and obviously what Liberty in general is doing, head on over there. But I like, Craig, how you just ended on that short-term missions, and then you talked about the word splash. I think that's the difference we're making here, a difference between a splash for a week, for 2 weeks, for some great exposure trip that you want to have or have, as opposed to longevity. We're not saying every missionary should go through business as mission initiatives. Traditional routes obviously create impact, but we are talking about long short-term longevity we're talking about here, how to make an impact across cultures, across people groups. And I think that's quite important. In fact, Van says, do you guys feel that most short-term teams are like vacations for people who go?
So this is not what you wanted to get into tonight.
Yeah, well, that is a whole nother conversation for sure.
I gotta say that will take up 3 hours next time.
That is a good topic.
Oh, it's a great topic. Yes,
Steve and I will do that sometime. We'll host it, and you guys jump on. But yes, we'll go to an orphanage for a few hours, but after that, we're getting to the beach, right? That does happen. But we're talking about longevity here and just potential possibilities through business as mission initiatives. So I like your thoughts there. Yeah.
Good.
So much so that I'm going to follow you on Blab.
I was hoping Candace would come back on. I was curious to see what she had to say.
One of us will need to get off. Oh, wait, there you go. Well, thanks for calling in, Craig. You are awesome. We'll have to ship you your best question on Blab award.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'll see you in a few weeks, Craig.
Yeah.
Great. Yeah, if somebody else wants to call in, feel free. And sorry, Kendall, you had something to say there?
Oh, no, I was just hoping that some of the other folks too, like Jessica, if you would call in. And also, Van Slager.
Yep.
He's been with us. I thought it'd be good to hear from him.
Yeah, you remember seeing Van before, a month ago or so?
Was it?
Yeah, well, I mean, I haven't seen you, Van, in a while, but there you are. By the way, Mark, I don't know how your internet has got, but if you're wanting to call in, feel free. There's an open spot right there, and this is a real engaging, unique conversation, isn't it? I mean, there's lots of thoughts behind this. There's lots of questions. In fact, the infamous Steve Shermer just posted a question right now.
Did we ask this yet?
No, we didn't. This is a great question.
So, so it's 1040 Windows. There's a lot of hostility toward Christianity. So are BAM companies seeing less? Are they seeing less government persecution and oppression? Then I would say, because David wrote this question, I think, is that in terms of compared to traditional missionaries?
I think so. For example, I mean, I was just recently interrogated for 6 hours on the China-Vietnam border. Perhaps had I gone through a different route as a business with different connections, it would have made a difference in that particular instance. But I guess that was my thinking behind it. Are business as missions companies seeing less persecution or government oppression because they're, what would you say, above board and very forward with what they're doing publicly?
Kendall?
Completely depends on where you are, of course, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
You might want to restate that question. Sorry, Dave.
There. I'll pin it again. It's not written well. But my point was, in countries hostile to Christianity, for example, 1040 window countries, have business as mission companies seen less government persecution and oppression than, say, traditional missionary routes? Or
that's a question I can answer. I think that's a question that definitely Mark, because of his experience cross-cultural with so many different people coming through the BAM conference, I think that's definitely a question he could answer. Obviously,
master.
Yes.
Well, if he wants to try and get on, I was thinking of a lady in the middle. I'll just say Middle East that I met that opened up I'll call it a cheesecake factory. I can't remember exactly. Okay. I won't give away the name.
Not the Cheesecake Factory.
Yeah, it's her own. It's her Middle Eastern cheesecake factory, and I can't quite remember where she's from, but I don't think she's from the U.S. Anyway, so she started this cheesecake factory, and the local police basically within 3 months shut it down. I mean, they knew why she was there. They didn't kick her out or anything, but they did shut her down. So she worked at it again and got open a second time. Took a lot of work, and And David, give me a word, because I want to say she got a lot of guanxi. But I just
relationship, the connection.
Yeah, I can't describe that in English anymore.
Here, I'll write it in
too
Chinese for everyone to follow exactly what you're saying here, just in case they were confused by your English translation.
Yeah, that'll help them pronounce it.
Would that be or
But she had built it up. She had done everything. They had been open for 3 months, and then they just came and just shut it down because of who she was and what she was doing. She was able to reopen it months later. I would say the persevering aspect of it, she did end up building that relationship or guanxi with the local officials, which I guess the cool thing, this doesn't really answer the question, but the cool thing was she was able to serve as a mediator between a local pastor and the police chief of the city who was trying to shut him down, and step in, and they brought them together in her cheesecake factory, sat down and spent several hours with them. And by the end, the chief walked away and said, just do what you want, and left them alone after that.
I think
that really doesn't answer your question.
No,
That's a good thing.
I think
guess
it does.
The first aspect,
I think
she did face some problems.
Yeah.
Of course, China, you just open up a business and you have mafan.
Mafan. No, you're just throwing in all kinds of Chinese here. Candace, are you here to speak Chinese or English?
No, not today. Or anytime soon. I apologize. This computer crashed a while ago, so I was trying my other one, and I didn't think it would work.
Okay.
And it didn't.
Okay.
So, I know that I wasn't sure if I was quite in the right place or not where I could share what I had, but the link I shared, and if everybody can still see it, I can't do it off of this computer. I can't get it pulled up on my notes, but I can do it on the other one again. That's why I sent it to you through on your Twitter.
Okay.
That is what is called a splash page, which to me is kind of like the pamphlets, the handouts.
Mm-hmm.
And I work through an advertising platform, and I share this in my advertising through a lot of sites. And I didn't know if this might be something that would interest you guys, especially after listening, the business part of it, because I started out with the business that I'm in, that I do with the advertising, and it just seemed like an open door for me to be able to share the gospel with other people. So mine is not really, it still is an outreach to unreached people, but it's also, for me, it's an outreach for a lot of people here in the States and in Canada that, and there's a lot, it just blows, people need to hear the gospel, but it just really blows my mind when I'm sitting around listening to people talk and stuff. And like, yeah, maybe I am where I'm supposed to be, because this seems to have become one of my missions. Yeah. And this is how I'm sharing the gospel. So I just wanted to, step up and tell you guys I appreciate y'all being on here and being able to share that with you.
I really liked your idea here about splash pages here. Actually, here, I'm getting double feedback here. Okay. Is that better?
From Candace.
Pardon me?
Where are you from, Candace?
Oh, I am in Alabama.
Oh, okay. I heard that good old Southern accent. That's good to hear.
Yeah. I am in
Hey,
Alabama.
Clemson's going to win tonight.
Yeah, that's what I'm hearing. I don't really watch the football. I just listen to everybody else talk about it.
I like what Craig is asking again. The question, Master Candace, is there a way for you to measure the response of your splash page?
Yes, there is. The link that I actually put up.
It's right above there. I just put it there.
Yeah, you have it with the click a P. That must be how it showed up. But it's I actually, the one I sent in your Twitter was actually the tracking link.
Oh, I see. I see. Okay. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So what I did when I was playing around, and what we do, we have people, that opt in to receive information, emailers, traffic exchanges, etc. And I was playing around. I'm learning how to do all that, and I made the splash page there, but I also made it where when you click the link where it says, click here, receive the free Bible software, it brought up another page where they could put in their email and name, which would then put them on a list. But I don't want it to be where it's putting them on a list, because I just want people to feel comfortable that they're able to receive something without having to give their information to anybody else. And there are a lot of people out there. I know there, especially in third world countries, if it's where they're able to get on computers and things like that, you want them to be able to do that without having to put themselves out there for harm.
Yeah, Steve and I actually recently did a conversation about this. We're talking about harnessing social media and tech to propel Christian missions. And there are different organizations that focus specifically on, okay, thanks, Kendall, on using splash pages to bring different messages of the gospel to specific unreached people groups via the internet. Obviously, anyone could get on internet on the top of a mountain in the middle of nowhere. And so these are great ways to connect. But yeah, I like the ideas.
Well, thank you. I just, thought, like I said, I just wanted to share that with y'all. And it's one thing that's great about it. The software that links to, it has the whole Bible with it.
Cool.
It's Bible study software and access to the whole Bible.
Cool. So, very cool.
Yeah. So, well,
thanks
I appreciate it,
thanks
guys.
for sharing.
All right. Thanks bunch.
Okay, Candace. We'll see you next time. Speaking of next time, looks like Brian's busy right now, but I wanted to put a couple links up here because Steve and I actually, like I said, host these regular missions blabs. And I wanted to show you two that are upcoming right now. If you want to subscribe to these, we'd love to have you. One is how to be a Christian advocate for unreached people groups. And the second is Indigenous or foreign missionaries, who is more effective. Some really good conversations I think we're going to be having coming up here. One in 2 days from now, one in 1 week from today, if I'm not mistaken, right, Steve?
Yep.
Yeah. Cool. So you can check those out on the timelines and time zones. Kendall, thanks for coming on, spending so much time. I know it's 10:30 your time there. I did get Brian's question. It was really good. I told him he might steal the best question award from Craig with that one. Yeah. I didn't put it up. Do you have any significant presence of BAM, business as mission, in Scripture? Would Jesus have been a prominent proponent of business as mission? That's a great question. I wish Brian was here to pop in, but I understand when kids are on your lap, it's kind of tough, right?
Where's Kendall at? We need Kendall to answer this question.
Yeah, Kendall is the mastermind. Kendall has lived on the mission field in 5 different countries, in Africa and Germany and Thailand, China, Hong Kong. So yeah,
he was BAM before BAM.
He was BAM before it was BAM to be BAM.
Well, when that question was asked by Brian, the first thing that came to my mind was, of course, the same guy that always gets talked about in BAM, and that would be the Apostle Paul, the tent maker.
Sure. Tent maker.
And, I don't know if I've ever done a scriptural study on it, Brian, myself, so I can't really answer that question. Would Jesus have been a proponent of BAM? Undoubtedly, yes, because it's one more way to get the gospel message to people in their situation or wherever they live. And they may not like the local missionary that is there in town for whatever reason, maybe the high life that they live, because they have a nicer car or they have a nicer house and they can't relate well. But the guy that's down the street that's running the little small mom and pop shop, who's a Christian running it as a business as mission, who's selling stuff that they need, on a regular basis, they would definitely have a very close working relationship, because obviously the guy needs what they have. And so without a doubt, Jesus, good question, without a doubt, Jesus would definitely be a proponent of BAM.
Because, I'm sorry, go ahead. I was just going to say, because look, 3 years of Jesus' life, he did public Christian ministry. The rest, he was making tables and chairs, and he was making quality work, right? I'm actually reading a book right now. It's called The Rest of God by Mark Buchanan. Really powerful. I put this link up there because I was going to at one point read it, but it's a bit lengthy, so I'm not going to now. But basically, he was talking about God's not only approval but appreciation and glorying in quality workmanship, using work to empower. So there's an article out there that says why I hate business as missions, that term. I think the whole point he was getting at is because sometimes we separate what is business, what is secular, and what is Christian. There is very little separation sometimes. In fact, he said this, let's see. Okay. Before we understand God's rest, we must understand the work. The church has done little to help here. Generally, we have a rickety theology of work. I can prove this in 10 seconds. If I say the phrase, the Lord's work, what comes to mind? Anybody here? Chat it in there. He goes on to say the Lord's work usually comes to mind. If you're like most people, default image is a pastor or priest or missionary doing pastoral, priestly, or missionary things. But this is a shallow and narrow understanding of the Lord's work. And then he goes on with a story. The point there being the Lord's work is what God has called us to. What is in your hand to use at present to propel the Great Commission, to see this fulfillment of the Matthew 28. And so I just thought that was a great link. It might provide some encouragement.
Yeah. There's another guy that's online here, Van Slager.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
He's got a website called Unbelievable.
Yes.
And it is about bees.
That's right. Yeah. I talked to, he's got a unique past, unique history, a pastor, and he's watching right now, but feel free to jump in if you wanted to, Van.
Love to hear from him. Yeah. If
not much coaxing needed with you, is there?
Oh, how are you, Dad?
Hey, what is this, like the Southern crowd today? Man,
Yes.
everybody.
Yes,
Good to hear your voice, buddy.
I'm in a Tennessean. If that's what I tell people. If you wouldn't have a Texas without a Tennessee, so
Wow. Whoa. I'm not even getting into that.
I love it.
Yeah. I just wanted to kind of respond about Christian work, and a friend of mine, we're embarking on another adventure, who owns a factory, and we're going to start manufacturing coffins. Is because if you've ever had to buy one, they'll range anywhere from $4,000 to $12,000. And what I know as a minister is a lot of times people will buy anything in that moment of grief. And so we've actually come up with a plan and we can make them definitely affordable, but they're beautiful. They're not, when you call it the Lord's work, it's not like somebody just put one together like it was
exactly.
A craft, but the markup on that's so high, and we look at that as being a ministry.
Yes.
Because everybody's going to need one sometime. And what we've already uncovered, the reason people are being cremated more often is because they can't afford a burial. So we're coming from the point of people can't even afford to die anymore, much less hardly live. So that's kind of our standpoint. And that's how we'll reach a lot of people.
And I like how you're talking about quality craftsmanship. That's what we're talking about here, right? Yeah. When you say the Lord's work or something, it's not like, that's a piece of junk. We're talking about using quality stuff to glorify God, either be it through business or traditional routes of missionary efforts.
Well,
I'm sorry, I was going to cut you off. I thought you were creating or building coffins so more missionaries would pack their bags in coffins like we used to 100 years ago and go take the slow boat to China and be buried in that country. I guess not.
Right. Yeah, that'll probably just, I guess, work in the United States. But just always been a way of, I've always seen business as more of an opportunity to reach people, because people think, when you get so many people in your church, the people you're trying to contact, they're not at church. I mean, there's a whole world that's not at church right now. So, and you just got to look for ways to reach them. It's just a different way to fish. I mean,
I like
and
that.
business does that. It affords you to do those things. So, yeah.
Have you already started building these coffins yet?
We haven't. And what's stopping it currently is we're in a small home movement, is because they just released 300,000 people from prison.
Oh.
You see what I'm saying? So you're not going to be able to keep up with housing issues pretty soon, even in the United States, is because the era of the McMansions, are over for a certain class of people. So they have to have somewhere to live. So we're even looking as far as expanding in our area of now your nursing homes are starting to be big. We have a church not far from us that has connections. They're actually trying to build one of the first nursing homes where it's integrated into their church.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Yeah, it's a huge mission field. Mm-hmm. So now with the internet and stuff such like this is Blab, you're in contact, and anything can happen right now in the day and age we're living in. It's really remarkable.
Well, when you first mentioned that about the coffins, my mind immediately went to the fact that death in anybody's life is one of the most challenges that people face. It's one of the worst challenges, one of the worst things that people face in their life. And if you can be there from the moment that they start looking for a coffin, and even what the opportunities are going to open up right and left. I mean, it just like it's one of those. It was like the printing we had for missionaries, coffins for even because non-believers are going to come see you, right? They're going to come knocking on your door, and what an opportunity and a time in the most lowest point of their life, you get to start sharing with them.
Great opportunity.
Well, I think damn things would be just excellent. Wow.
Well, the first coffin that we made, people would come to my church to see it, just to look at it, because I kept it in my office. It makes a very good counseling tool,
Yeah.
So,
next time you're in the Tennessee area, everyone, make sure you get in touch with Van. He's a great counselor.
We're in Tennessee. Yeah. Sorry.
I'm in Athens. I'm right between Knoxville and Chattanooga.
Oh, really?
Right there in the east. Yeah.
Okay. Chattanooga, close to Lee University there.
My son goes there, and my other son's going to go there too. So I've got a son that's a sophomore, and another one's going to go there as well. So great school, just won the voice. A lot of good things going on there.
I have to ask you: do you go by Van Gogh or Van? What do you go by?
Van.
Yeah. Okay. So, have you been up to Whitestone Inn?
Yeah, I was thinking about that as well.
In Kingston, Tennessee.
I've heard of it.
Well, you got to go, man. One of the vice president of my mission board actually owns a bed and breakfast there, called Whitestone Inn. It's a 4 diamond rated bed and breakfast. And missionaries get to stay free of charge, and pastors they get a significant discount. But that place loves missionaries, loves mission work, and it's a gorgeous place. It's over 1,100 acres. It's on Watts Bar Lake. You heard of Watts Bar Lake?
Yes, I have. Yes.
You're so close to it, man. So if you get a chance to get up to Kingston and see Paul Cowell, that guy is also embodied businesses, missions as you can't imagine. He was on. He's owned how many bookstores in his lifetime? He was on Shop at Home Network. He was a major shareholder of Shop at Home Network, and used all that money to build Whitestone so that it could be a refuge to missionaries as well.
Wow. Yeah.
And so you get up there and see him, you'd be blessed.
I need to do that. That's another thing I was trying to do as well. Is have you heard of a place called Tellico Plains? It's near over there. A lot of tourism happens there. A lot of bikers come through. It was the town I grew up in originally, and I've always wanted to do something like that for ministers, because I know how, I've pastored for 24 years of my life. And I know what they go through, and missionaries, like that there's no doubt in my mind that God's hand of blessing goes upon that when you take care of missionaries and God's people. I mean, I've seen it too many times.
I was honored to be able to interview Mr. Paul Cowell, who Kendall was talking about at Whitestone Inn, on that link above, the importance of preventing missionary burnout. Talk about someone who is passionate about preventing missionary burnout. I mean, he puts on these great events, getaways. Kendall and Axco host them many times and is the liaison, and had a great conversation. Might be something worth checking out. But ideas and thinking outside the box, Van, of reaching people through practical means, and not only practical, but quality craftsmanship. That really speaks to me.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, I think that's, when you said that about Jesus doing all those pieces, would it not be cool to have had like a table that Jesus made? I mean,
see, it's quality, right?
Yeah.
It wasn't just a rustic old thing that you threw together, I'm sure.
Yeah. You could almost build it with eternal quality in mind. Last table you'll ever need.
Yeah, that's on the back of his business card, right?
Yeah.
Well, awesome. Yeah, great thoughts. Steve, did you have any additional thoughts? I mean, we could keep going forever, I'm sure, right?
No, I don't. This has been really good. I've enjoyed listening to Kendall, and then Craig's not on here anymore, but listening to him and the others. Yeah, this has been really, really good today.
I agree. It's I know, Van, we're talking about it in a cross-cultural missionary perspective. For those of you who are watching the replay, it'll obviously be on davidjoannes.com, probably on silkroadcatalyst.com as well. But though we're talking in the missions context, 1040 window, unreached people groups, this applies to all businessmen and ministers alike. Using what's in your hand to make an impact on culture in a positive way, and thus shine the light of the gospel. So I think it's a well-rounded conversation talking about holistic Christian ministry, huh?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. Have you, I heard we had some people from our church, 2 different people from our church. We'd done all these trips to Ghana in Africa. And what they did is they found somebody over there, and they actually bought their own taxis and paid for it. And one of them was like a bus, which, you load so many people per time. And they actually got it set up and running to where they funded another guy's ministry. Like they had a guy working for it. So he's funding it. And they were doing so good, they were actually making money back. It was not only supporting a church, but employing a person. And then they were actually making money back, which surprised me. So they started divesting it in, and so they have a particular line where they go ahead and every time they get it, they buy another cab. I thought, man, they'll keep on doing that, because gosh, if you've ever been to Accra in Ghana, that you know how the traffic works in those countries, where they get so close they're banging on the other person's car to tell them whether to come in or out. So,
yeah,
I mean, and that's a necessary thing you have to have. I mean, it's, you have to have it. So I thought it was a pretty interesting concept of what they were doing.
All right.
Yeah, that'd be good for our indigenous versus foreign missionary.
I like
example.
that. Yeah. Van, you came in a little bit late to hear Kendall's practical stories, but that is yet another great practical story of business as mission that is profitable, therefore is able to cross-pollinate with traditional missionary routes. You had something to say, it looks like, Kendall.
No, I gotta go.
Okay, yeah, you gotta go. Okay, yeah, it's late for you. It's about 10:40 in the morning, I think, for you in Thailand. So,
pleasure to meet you, sir, and I hope that project gets going on the ground for you. I really do.
Me too. I'm following you guys, so I look forward to hearing good things from you.
Awesome.
It's good to
Get
meet you,
on-
Kendall.
Get up to Kingston and see Paul. You too, Steve. Pleasure to meet you, sir. And we'll be on here again soon. All right, love that, y'all.
Boss. Thanks, boss. Hey, Kendall, it's always great to hear your input. I love it. I love being able to provide a platform for you to share your passions. In fact, we'll do an interview with just you about Axco. I'd really, really love to do it whenever we get a chance. I'm back in town.
Okay.
Yeah.
How much you got?
After May, we have 4 teams coming at the same time in China. I'm sorry?
These interviews don't come free.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
Hey,
exactly.
I'm a businessman, right? No.
He's a businessman, David.
Wow. I'm trying to connect traditional versus business as mission. So we'll see what we come up with. Thanks, Kendall.
All right.
Take care.
See ya.
Okay.
Bye.
Van, thanks for popping in there too. It's great. And everyone else, Steve, this is a great conversation, huh?
It is.
Yeah.
I'm tired.
Okay, it's late for you as well. 10:41 in the evening, so we're going to close this out, and we'll make the replay available. Obviously, the same link. Make sure you follow us. Follow Steve Shermer, Steve Silk Road here on Blab, and then you could follow. Yeah, Steve just put his link there. I'm going to put this one as well, and we really appreciate you being on, Steve. It's always a pleasure.
Definitely. See you on Wednesday.
Sounds good. In a couple days.
All right.
All right. Take care.
Bye-bye, y'all.